Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. So tonight I want to general review about what we were talking about in terms of the higher dimensions. Let us first start by quick review how we understand dimensions to be. If I have a dot, the dot is zero dimension. A dimension is a direction of travel where I can move in space, where we can move in space. If the dot becomes a line, the line is one dimension because it's one direction in which we can travel along the line. If the line, one line this way and the other one is perpendicular to it, that perpendicular line creates a plane, and on the plane, there are a length and width direction upon which a two-dimensional being can travel. If we add height that comes out of the face of the plane, we end up having a cube, and the cube is the geometric shape that represents the 3D dimension that we exist in. I should also say here that the 3D dimension, the reason why, and it is highly connected to all five senses, because it's through those senses that our brain and our consciousness is able to understand the envelope and the volume that we exist in. Now, to try to explain Einstein's theory of relativity and how it connects to the 3D world that we exist in, it was through brilliant observation about the physicality of our world. Of course, he was a great genius, and his theory of relativity solved many things. It's not complete, it solved many things. And I'm going to use an analogy of the trampoline. I've used it before, and I'm going to remind you. If we have a trampoline, and we imagine that the trampoline is what, in the theory of relativity, is space-time. And the reason for space-time is that objects in our universe are moving away from each other at a constant speed. Okay? We call the Hubble constant. Although there are other speed in the universe, there are other objects that are moving faster or slower. And those are anomalies, and they have different reasons why. But generally speaking, things are moving at a certain distance from each other, a certain speed. So if you look at the trampoline is being the fabric of time and space. If you were to put a rock or a small rock or a marble onto the trampoline will deform. The fabric will deform slightly depending on the mass and the gravity of the rock or the marble. If you remove the rock or the marble, you put an anvil, or for that matter, a bowling ball, it will deform tremendously. And by the way, if after that deformation occur, you put the same marble again, which was a lower density, before it gets attracted into against the bowling ball in the center, it will begin to rotate around on the trampoline several times before it goes to the center. This is what's happening, for example, the sun being the most massive thing in our solar system, and all of the 9 planets, outer planets who are rotating around the sun, are rotating around in the orbit and the gravity, because the sun, because of its mass, has deformed on the entire solar system to pull everything toward it. And the reason I'm saying this is because I want you to understand, and let's for a moment forget that it's just a trampoline, because space-time is not a flat plane that cuts to the middle of the sun. You have to imagine it as if it was us being completely underwater. There is a buoyancy, and there are all this kind of restriction that the space-time medium creates. It's like an invisible, almost like an invisible gas or invisible medium. And one of the restrictions, for example, in space-time, is that the the cosmic speed of our universe is the speed of light. You cannot move any faster than the speed of light. Well, you could theoretically move faster, but it will require a whole bunch of fixing, a whole bunch of stuff. But typically speaking, you cannot accelerate faster than the speed of light. And that speed is 186,000 miles per second. And if you were to travel to, for example, from us, the Earth, to Alpha Centauri, where we have another Earth-like planet, which is the closest to us, it's 4 light years away. It would take 4 years of traveling at the speed of 186,000 miles per second to get to Alpha Centauri. Normal speed, forget it. It will take us, hundreds of years. But the point I'm trying to make now is to make you understand when scientists are talking about light years, they are not talking about time. They are talking about the distance that it takes light to travel from point A to point B in 1 year, which is around, I think it's 5.8 million miles for that 1 year. Okay? So that's what light year is. I want to also bring to your awareness that when you look at the firmament in the sky at night and you see all these stars, whether you see Torus or Alpha Centauri or the Palladium, or any star formation that you see in the sky. The light that you're seeing because of the distance that the light has to travel to get to us. The light, for example, from Alpha Centauri that we're seeing now took over 4 years to get to us. So the light where the twinkling light that we're seeing in the sky that's flicking at us left Alpha Centauri sun 4 years ago. It's not the light that's actually leaving the planet now. And this is why the fabric of this universe is space-time connected together. So the 4D, the fourth dimension, is a space-time medium. And again, since it is a place that a direction in which we can travel, i.e. speed of light or close to speed of light, we can travel from Earth to Alpha Centauri. Therefore, it is that next dimension that we are supposed to master. If it's through normal space, it would take us forever. We will have died and our ancestors will have to be reborn before we even get to it. Now, there's an anomaly when you try to accelerate to the speed of light. Scientists have, in theory of relativity, have mathematically calculated so many things, but there's some anomaly and some time paradox. The one thing that happens, let's say we're going to continue because it's the closest to us, continue to use Alpha Centauri. So Alpha Centauri, as we are, let's say we are leaving Earth and we launch a spaceship that has the propulsion system to get us close to the speed of light, traveling to normal time space. And as we're getting faster and the ship is getting faster, 20% of this acceleration, 20% of the speed of light, everything begin around you, the way the star looks, are beginning to change. For example, in front of you, and I think if you ever seen the movie Star Wars, when they go to warp speed, it does the same thing. This is the exact special effect. All the lights seems like, all the light of all the stars seems like arrows that are funneling to a point, okay, in front of you. And behind you, everything becomes black. At first, it doesn't become black immediately. It becomes, everything in front of you becomes to change color, almost like psychedelic, like you took some acid. they become reddish, infrared, violet, ultraviolet. And then eventually, as you accelerate closer and closer to the speed of light, they begin to look like beams of light that are converging forward as you're moving through the speed of light. And then behind you, everything becomes black. Now, the other thing we need to be very careful about as we're traveling at that speed, any atom at that kind of speed, if you're traveling close, let's say 100,000 miles per second, an hydrogen atom, since space is not a vacuum, although we keep saying it's a vacuum, but it's filled with gas, it fills with what do you call that? A cosmic dust. It's filled with that kind of molecule, an asteroid, and all kinds of stuff. If we were to travel at that speed, we would have to create a force field around the spaceship, because anything like a hydrogen atom would puncture through the shell of a spaceship like it's a projectile. Okay? And that would be extremely dangerous to the occupant of the spaceship. And if it was an actual cosmic dust, like a nebula cloud that we would have to go through, that nebula cloud, anything on that nebula cloud would hit us like a nuclear bomb. So we would have to create some sort of force field to try to protect the front of the ship from collision, because at the speed that we're going, we would be very susceptible to having all these things penetrate through us very quickly. And here is the thing that's the craziest of all. If we were to travel close to the speed of light, as we got closer and closer to it, our mass, the mass of the ship, our own mass would increase. We would find it more and more difficult to walk. And it will take the engine, the propulsion system, double the energy the closer you get to the speed of light. As I said, it's a limit in the space-time continuum. And the other thing as well, let's say we are traveling to Alpha Centauri, still on that trajectory, and halfway through, after 2 years, we begin to realize, let's say an asteroid or some sort of danger is coming toward Earth. And we send a message back to Earth to tell people on Earth, be careful, this asteroid or something is coming toward them. That message, because of the speed at which we're traveling, would probably arrive in the past. Remember, what we are seeing from Alpha Centauri is years old. There's a time delay. So as you send the message, it would not arrive in the present. It will arrive before we depart the Earth. And it will create a catastrophic time paradox that could cause all kind of catastrophic thing to unravel reality. Because you would receive a message about you sending it from a future time that you don't even know that you went into. If you remember Star Trek and even Star Wars, when people go in the past, they have rules that they have to obey because otherwise they're going to unravel time. You cannot meet with your past self, because it's going to create a cascading disruption in the timeline, and it's going to unravel space-time, and it could cause even your whole planet to stop to be. Because everything is moving along a linear sequence, and consciousness would not be able to assimilate. And the idea and the concept that your future self has come back to try to warn you about something else. And here is the point as well. Let's say we go to Alpha Centauri. It takes us 4 years at last speed to get there, 4 years to return back. When we come back, everyone, and for us, it's 8 years in total. But when we return back, because of the speed we travel, again, close to the speed of light, over 150 to 200 years will have passed. And everybody we knew on Earth will have already been buried. This is the way physical world exists. These are the limits that exist in it. And by the way, the object with the greatest gravity is also, of course, a black hole. Let's say, for example, if our sun at the end of its life, after all the nuclear fusion reaction of the sun burns out, there are two ways the sun can go. The sun can explode out into a supernova and release all of these energy and particle and recreate and reshape and take all the planets with it and reshape them in a ways that we unknown to us. Or it could collapse on itself. From being 1,000,000 times bigger than our planet, it could collapse and become the size of our planet. And if that happens, it becomes 1,000,000 times smaller with all of the same density, and it will become a black hole. And at that moment, that black hole will have what is called an event horizon, a perimeter or diameter, where it will, if anything crosses it, light included. So the one thing in the universe that actually bend space-time and bend even light is a black hole. The black hole is almost like an exception because it absorbs everything. But black holes are still, scientists can, well, we can't go to the center of them, that's the one thing. So all the studies we have to do, we have to watch them to telescope and watch what's emitting from them and kind of study them from a distance. But more importantly, black holes also have ejection coming from them. Although scientifically, through the theory of relativity, it's infinite density. And it means that nothing can escape it. But that's not what we're observing when we look at other places in our universe where there's black hole. A lot of them have ejection of quasars, which is light ejection, incredible plumes of light that are ejecting from it. At the center of every galaxy, including ours, is a black hole. And that black hole, around the black hole, is a nursery. There's a lot of gas, but it's also a nursery of stars and planets. There's a lot of planets and stars that are getting created. So is the black hole a force that's trying to annihilate or destroy everything that there is? Or is it also both things, the beginning and the end? It's the end for some, and it's also the beginning for others, because it's also a white hole, which is a birth canal. Because it's in the center of the universe. When we watch through X-rays, ultraviolet rays, and a different kind of lens and filter, because we can't see it, it's so full with gas, we can see that there are tons of suns and planets and all kinds of activities that are being emitted and being created from that black hole. Now, this is physical world as we know it. Now, if we are to understand 4D, I had shared with you the last few times, like 2 or 3 classes, that 4D, as my understanding of it is actually perceiving the beginning and the end of everything. It's perceiving, it's the alpha and the omega. It's the Ouroboros, the snake that's swallowing its tail. It's the beginning and the end of everything. It's seeing everything to that lens and that cycle. And so when you look at something, that it's almost like a vignette opens up and let you see the beginning and the end of it. You see the beginning and then the end morphs and it perpetually seems to be coming, because the symbol, the geometric symbol for the 4th dimension, you can Google this on YouTube, is the tesseract. And if you see the tesseract, it's a cube that's inverting on itself, almost like a torsion field endlessly. And it's rotating inside and out, inverting like a torsion field. So it's perpetually in motion and it's perpetually reflecting the beginning and the end. So as we go in our meditation and ask our higher selves to teach us the way the 4D the perception of the 4D and the expansion into the 4D, you may experience you may get the insight and understanding into the Tesseract, which is by seeing object or sensing things that all seem to be in motion, rotating on themselves, either being beginning to end or end to beginning. Any questions, any comments before I continue? Okay. The perception or the understanding of the fifth dimension is when you have, again, what's holding us for perceiving all of this. We're trying to remember and we're reverse engineering. When we descended, we forgot all of these things. We're trying to reverse engineer it. Right now, the way the world is going on with all of the agitation and the fears and all the things that are scaring us that are happening around the world, around the planet, there's so many big things that are terrifying. We have to figure out a way to reverse engineer, to surrender, as Kuan Yin said in the Heart Sutra, that okay, let me see if I can find this very quickly. Give me a minute. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read a couple of pages from a couple of paragraphs from it. Give me a minute, okay? Here it is. So the Kuan Yin Heart Sutra, O Siriputra, form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Form is the same as emptiness. Emptiness is the same as form. That which is form is empty. That which is empty has form. And so it is also with sensation, thoughts, and activity and consciousness. O Sariputra, all things are empty. They are not born, they are not annihilated, they are not impure, they are not pure. They do not increase, they do not decrease. Therefore, O Sariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no thoughts, no activity, no consciousness, no eyes, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no color, no taste, no touch, no object. Again, negating all of the senses. No element of hearing, no element of vision, no element of smelling, no element of tasting, no element of touching, no element of consciousness. There is no knowledge and no ignorance till we come to no old age, no death, and no extension of an old age and death. There is no suffering, no accumulation, no annihilation, no path. There is no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, because there is no attainment at in the mind of the Bodhisattva who depends on the Prajna Paramitra. There is no obstacle in going beyond the distorted view is nirvana. What basically Kuan Yin is saying here is what I'm alluding to, is that in order for us to perceive these higher densities, we have to empty our attachment to all of these things that she enumerated, even consciousness itself. We have to empty ourselves out of the attachment to all of them. Form, everything that we have in the world, everything that release, no eyes, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no sound, no color, no taste, no touch, no object of hearing, no object of smelling, no tasting, no element of touching, and no element of consciousness. And if you can get to a point where you have eliminated, you have surrendered all of these things. I'm not asking you to block your eyes out and stop yourself from touching anything. I'm saying emotionally and consciousness, why you have to surrender all of it out. And when you get to that moment, you begin to see the world for what it really is. And the reason for this is because the form that we're seeing is the theory of relativity world, the 3D world, with all of the paradox of time, space, continuum, and all of that. That's what we're seeing. That's the box and the volume that we exist in. What I'm trying to bring you into understanding is that there is a time or a place beyond that. And it existed in the universe because scientists are talking about the Big Bang Theory as being the time in which everything exploded out, right? The claim 14 billion years ago. And I immediately showing were not the rules of physics that we know now. The atoms that we're seeing, the largest, the first molecule, hydrogen, which is 1 proton, 1 neutron, and 1 electron. The nucleus has 1 proton, 1 neutron, and 1 electron. That hydrogen atom, before it was created, there were quarks, subatomic particle. Okay? And the quarks gathered together. And when those subatomic particles, when you get into the mechanic of subatomic particle, you enter what is called the quantum mechanic. And the rules that operate there are probabilities and potential. Things don't operate like they operate in the physical world, where everything is moving at a certain distance, everything is locked in place. In fact, quarks and graviton and neutrinos, which are all quantum particles, they exist as a probability. Because when scientists are looking for them, like the double slit experiment, it's like they exist in a range. Let's say you could see bracket this and bracket that. It's not a point in space that has a coordinate X, Y, Z plus time coordinate. And at 3 o'clock on this Monday, blah, 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 time coordinate, you will find the molecule there. That's not the way it operates. Because that's what the 4th dimension does. It adds the time factor in, so that you have the 3 coordinate of space on the graph, but it also adds the time in which that object or that thing, that event is supposed to occur. But what happened is that when you go in the 5D, it adds something else. And what it adds is a range of possibilities. Because one moment the molecule could be there, the next moment it flips and goes to the other side of the universe within a range, within a range of possibilities. And the way it shows up in my perception, and I've shared this with you before, is that when you have those kind of realization or those kind of things during your meditation, you know you're touching the landscape of the 5D. So a lot of time it happened to me when I'm in coaching session with my client. And hold on 1 second. I'm in class, I'll call you back. When I'm in coaching session with my client, the way it shows up is that it shows up as a range of possibility. And it shows up, for example, my client is telling me a story and they're telling me their trauma, what's happening to them and what they're concerned about, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, as they're talking to me, it's like a vignette opens up and I see, let's say, 6 or 7 things, almost like a fan that opens up all around me as an answer to the question that they're asking, or asking me for advice and coaching about that or the other. How do I explain my business and make this? All of a sudden, again, as I say, a range of things just opens up. And when it opens up, the thing for me is that because I'm not completely 5D at that moment, I have to linearly trying to, because they all show up simultaneously. And I have to try to remember there are 8 things, and I have to remember what is the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, and the 8th. And sometimes they don't all remain. So again, it's like looking at the range in the quantum field and suddenly seeing all the possible location in time and in space that this particular person can move into. Or for that matter, me, if it was something related to me and a decision that I need to make, it's all the range of places that I could possibly go into. Any questions, any comments so far? If you're having these kind of experiences, it's because you're touching the landscape of the 5D. Now, what eventually happened, if it's a decision I need to make, and I see suddenly in my prayer and meditation, I see 4 things show up. And as they show up, my higher self, my inner intelligence, will guide me to make a choice, maybe between all 4 things, or sometime 2 will drop, and it will be 2 left, or if there is 8, everything will drop, and then there's 2, and then the decision is made, and I know that's the decision, that's the path that I need to follow. Now, if I follow that path, the point of origin is where I'm standing, and I see all of them. If I follow that path will take me to a specific future because of that decision. Think of it of a tree branch. The branch is going straight and then all of a sudden split into 8. And I decided to take one path. Let's say it's path C, and I'm moving along C. And as I'm going through C, if somehow I realize as I'm moving through C, it would have been better for me to have chosen, let's say, D or E. I cannot jump from branch C into D or E. I have to go back to the point of origin. I have to go back in time to the point of origin where I made the decision and then travel into the branch that is E. This is the way the 5D operates. 6D is when I'm traveling to C and I decided I'm going to move now into, I want to move into E, and from where I am, without going back to the point of origin, I can instantaneously, through the quantum field, hop from one place into another. That's 6D. And there are higher characteristic of manipulating the space-time continuum all the way to the 15th dimension. Any questions, any comments?
Yes, Pierre, if I could go back to having to empty out all attachments to everything, really, including one's own consciousness.
Yep.
How do you manage that? I'm trying to think in a meditative state, you could probably easily go into into that void or that emptiness, the great emptiness, but you still have a sense of you in that emptiness, don't you?
I'm with you, and I'm still working on that. Because when I go into the white volume that I talk about often, I'm still aware that I exist in the white volume.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is to get, because the white volume itself is a plurality of consciousness. It's not a singularity.
Mm-hmm.
You have to accept that you're now a plurality. I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. But the day you can accept that you're a collective, then your consciousness will not matter to you anymore. Because you have accepted yourself as an identity that is much bigger than just a singularity of expression.
That's a hard concept based on our 3D
Yep.
positioning, I guess.
No, you're absolutely right. Because and this is an observation I've made myself, having been in that white volume many times. I can tell. I've shared with you the characteristic of that white volume is no thought, complete stillness, and rest. But one of the other characteristics is that I know I exist.
Right.
And I exist in this disorienting, vast thing. I have yet, and I'm in the process of trying to identify myself as being that volume.
I see. So it's taking the move away from I think, therefore I am, to no thought, nothing, I am nothing, or there is no
Yes.
I.
Yes, there is no I anymore. Yes.
Right. Okay.
There is no I anymore.
I got you. Thank you.
In Buddhism, this is why in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they keep talking about all the time that you have to recognize that the emptiness is you. And the moment you recognize this, you're completely enlightened. You're in the realm of the Buddhas. You have to identify with the emptiness.
Is it like the water, the ocean, that instead of being a drop in the ocean, we are the whole ocean?
Yes, that's the idea.
Uh-huh.
It's poetically said, but it's very complicated to do.
It is easier to say, yes.
Because I'm telling you, every time I go there, I still know that I'm separated from it. There's a part of me that doesn't want to accept that vastness, because, okay, that vastness is not empty. It's filled with possibilities. You're in the quantum field, or probably beyond the quantum field. You're probably in the realm of what preceded the quantum field to come into being. And to try to identify yourself with that is very complicated. I'm very grateful. I feel healed when I go there and etc. But I have yet to completely accept that the complete emptiness is me. Because I can still feel myself, and I turn myself around like this because there's no up, no down, no direction, everything is just empty. But it's filled with energies and things that are floating around me that seems to bring me answers in a way, in a vocabulary and language that I don't know how to express in 3D. I don't have a language to communicate it. I seem to know it when I'm there, but when I return back, I'm dumbfounded to try to explain it. All I can say is that it's not a nihilistic void. It's actually filled with permutation and things moving all around. And they are, again, this is why scientists talks about, that's why when I begin to study or begin to read quantum mechanic, I realized it's the same thing I was experiencing through my meditation. And it seems like the scientists that are studying quantum mechanics talk like philosophers, like mystics. When they talk about atoms existing in a field of possibilities, they're in superposition. One moment they're there, the next moment they pop up somewhere else, because that's what happened in that field.
So the very essence of your awareness of self keeps you committed to a 3D world, much like the double slit experiment with thought predetermining the outcome. So it's removing that aspect then perhaps as well.
Yes.
As,
And that will give you liberation.
So it is much like the 2D individual unable to understand height.
Correct.
So in 3D, we are unable to understand, or we're trouble understanding the concept of totality of self.
Yes.
Okay.
Of understanding that there is no such thing as singularity. That singularity is an illusion.
So if we are all
We're everything at the same time.
and we are all one in a sense, there is a singularity because if each one of us is the totality of everything,
Yes.
then at a certain point we must overlap in this sort of simplified way of expressing it. That means that we are all the same one.
Yes. And I'll be honest with you. If you look at the way, because the scientists have been trying to reverse engineer how things happen, because we think of matter existing in 3 states: solid, liquid, gas.
Mm-hmm.
But if you excite matter and provide it at a higher temperature, after gas it becomes plasma. After plasma it becomes quartz. After quartz, there are multiple inner states. There are 32 different states of matter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the rules that operate at those higher states are not the same. It's what we're experiencing in our deep meditation.
We are the universe.
Yeah.
But just to reiterate what I said, because it is that there isn't individuality of any of us. And if we are all the universe, if we are all that which is all, then we have never been that little snowflake pattern or that drop in the ocean.
The unique pattern. But it's both of them, Janice, at the same time.
Say that again. It's all what at the same time?
It's both of them at the same time.
Both.
It's the Ouroboros. We are everything and the singularity at the same time.
There's a paradox.
Yes. And the point being is that, okay, the best way to explain this is that in the infinity times infinity, if you can ever calculate what that number is, endless potential. It's the quantum field. Immense range of possibilities. Superposition, things exist everywhere, that kind of thing. And what I can say to you when you are there, things are just potential.
Mm-hmm.
In order for that potential to manifest, we became a singularity. And each one of us become a singularity.
In order for the potential to manifest, we could no longer be
we can remain the
potential. All. We had to become one.
Yes, we have to become a singularity.
Singularity. Why?
because that's the only, otherwise the potential keep popping everywhere. And it's collective awareness.
And so they all couldn't create,
It's not that the all could not create. There are things that the singularity can experience that the potential cannot. It's all about learning.
So the fertile field, so to speak, the potential is just fertile ground. And if you are fertile and you have no direct creative input, and only that creative input comes from a singularity, it cannot come from fertile field.
I would express it in a slightly different way. I would say that in the field of endless possibility, everything is a potential. Let's say you're trying to understand courage, or for that matter, mercy, or gratitude. It exists in that field as a potential. But in order for you in that field to truly understand the various ways in which gratitude can be expressed, gratitude has to precipitate in the lower densities and show up, and aspect of that collective will incarnate, will descend to embody that gratitude, or to embody the courage, to demonstrate it. And in fact, the way I uniquely demonstrate it is not the way you're going to demonstrate it. And as each one of us come in with our own way, as the way we descend and cascade down and we ascend back, we bring back with us more permutation and potential that didn't even exist in the blessed field. And therefore, the blessed field learned.
Once we reach the return home, 15D,
yes,
I would think would be the place of returning to complete potential. But don't we need that singularity to create in all the dimensions leading up to that? If we cannot manifest in 3D, 4D, 5D as potential, then don't we have to maintain our singularity?
No. When you're going back, you can go back as just cosmic dust. Okay? Let's say someone who didn't ascend and didn't do the work, they can go back into source as cosmic dust. Okay? Basically, recycling bin of the cosmos. But most of us, as we're doing all this heavy work, we're going to go back as an expanded awareness, or a version. If you think of software version, a version of the software of courage that didn't exist before. And we're going to add it to the collective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a version that didn't exist in the potential.
I'm not going to belabor that. I'm just stuck on this whole idea of singularity being needed to manifest. And we still need to manifest in 5D, 6D, 7D. So therefore,
we're not manifesting, we're returning home. There's a difference between that. We're returning home with awareness, with conscious awareness. What we are trying to achieve is conscious immortality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I say that I have a lot going in my mind, but I'm trying to put it into words. We are a singularity in the 3D, but when we helping God create in the 3D. So when we get we get that to get to manifest what it is that is on the potential field. It's like we're bringing that frequency down to the 3D. I don't know. I'm just, my mind is going here. I don't know if I'm not right. You let me know. It's like we're bringing down the frequency of that potentiality into the 3D. So when we go back and we go back with that frequency, there's no way to manifest it again. We're not able to manifest that into the potential field because we did it as a singularity and we know it thoroughly. And then we go back into that potential field with the knowledge. So in other words, a journey here, this is me thinking. I don't know if I'm right, but a journey here, it's a journey to understand those frequency and maybe to add because it come with different colors and each one of us have a way of doing like the tapestry of it. And then we go back. And when we go back with that potentiality, with that knowledge, with the new frequency. And I'm thinking of electricity. And electricity, in a way, if God is that source, and it's that electricity, is that frequency, when we bring back that frequency to Him, that is really a frequency that is more enlarged than what the original gratitude was.
Okay, so
It is constantly creating. It became bigger and constantly creating. I don't know.
we're adding value to pick up on what you're saying. What we're doing is that in the blessed field, when I go in there, I sense all kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
but they are not completely resolved.
Yes.
They don't exist as fixed point. They are not completely comprehended. They are not completely resolved. In order for that resolution and the complete understanding of it to be processed, it needs to cascade down the dimensional scale.
Mm-hmm.
And some aspect of God has to manifest and embody it. And when we think we manifest and embody it incorrectly, let's say I'm expressing the gratitude incorrectly, through the mistake that I'm making of express it incorrectly, or whether it's courage or whatever, I'm being cowardly, I'm being etc. As I'm doing this, I'm understanding nuances about a vast array of other feelings and emotion that existed as mere fraction of potential in the blessed field. And I'm bringing actual empirical experience as to what that feeling is. And when I return back, I ascend, and my path of return, I bring all of this with me. I am so enriched and so large that my radiation, even though I'm going to return back into source as a collective, I'm going to add a whole bunch of experience and understanding and nuances that were not there before. Janice, the best way I can say this is we were talking about how it's playing the piano and bringing, it's not just hitting the notes. It's the nuance of a life of experience. And then you bring that back into source.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's amazing. I think I have uncovered my error in understanding when you say ascending, that we're talking about the full ascension back to 15D, not going to 5D, where you can no longer be a singularity, you have to be a collective. We're talking about the total return home. I think I was misinterpreting that you were talking about the next ascension level that we're targeting, or perhaps more, of 5D, that we I thought you were saying that we had to be the collective there and no longer a singularity.
No, 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 no. You're still gonna be, well, it takes a while to get to a place where you're completely the collective. You go back to 15D. It takes a while.
Right, but to ascend to 5D, do we have to become nothing?
No.
No, okay, I got you.
It's a graduation.
I
Piece
got
by piece. You will lose piece by piece by piece by piece. Okay?
Okay, then it's
You
making
got
sense. Sorry for the long
No, 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 not a problem. Not a problem.
detour.
Not a problem. Okay. So now I'm gonna shift gear slightly. And I want you for a moment, I'm gonna share my screen and I want you to watch the symbol of the absolute certainty. There are now on the planet a lot of fallen energies and collective energies that are very terrifying, that are moving about, that are trying to distract us from doing the work that we're supposed to be doing. I shared with you that Georgie had given us the Durga mantra to his teacher Alma to repeat on a daily basis, and specifically on Tuesday, and to wear something, a red shawl or red something, or to put the red ash, which is kumkum, on your forehead, which is basically turmeric that has been burned. And when it burns, it turns red. The kumkum in the middle of your forehead. So, and for the first time last Tuesday, since the last time Amma was here, she had given me a small bag of kumkum. I actually wore it and I was listening to the, on my forehead, put it on my forehead, and I was listening to the Durga mantra. And I'm in meditation and I'm repeating it silently in my head. And suddenly I heard or felt, I can't explain if it, I heard, I felt, it doesn't matter, that I should do the torsion field. And I begin to do the torsion field, and suddenly I saw the absolute certainty symbol. Again, you're moving from right to left, Ayin, Resh, and Yod. And I was told to put the symbol as you're creating, as the first torsion field gets created, put it on the, because the torsion field is moving from the core of the earth to the bottom of your feet, moving through you, exiting outside of your head and going into source. I was told, see the symbol at the bottom, the core of the earth, let the light that's rising to move through the symbol to the geometric shape of Ayin, Resh, and Yod, as if the light was going through a prism. Let it move through, pass through your core, and let it exit outside of your head. And when it goes outside of your head and goes into source, see the set symbol receiving it as it counter rotates. Then the energy extends. See again, Ayin, Resh, Yod, and then the clockwise rotating, the light moves through it and passes through your core again as the donut opens up. The torsion field donut, center of the donut opens up, and it drops into the core of the earth, and receiving it again is Ayin, Resh, Yod. I can tell you that after doing this for a few days now, I don't have words to describe the kind of, I feel like a cosmic rod got implanted in me in all dimension of time and space. You do this for all 15, all 12 torsion field. I had known that I was missing something. I knew that when, at the moment of the Galactic Equator Crossing, given the fact all the attacks that are going around the world and all of the agitation and emotional agitation, for us to remain in absolute certainty for 80 hours or 3 days is going to require a special kind of connection. I didn't know what it was. I was trying to remember what it was. I knew it was torsion field related, but I knew something else was missing. This is why I've been asking everybody and telling everybody I'm trying to find the rest of God. I don't want me, and this is why I've been in my apartment for the past 3.5 years, almost 4 years now. I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And I can tell you, it's a connection that's unlike anything that I've ever done before. It's not the rest of God because I've been there before. It's not, it's something completely different. I feel energetically like I am aligned in all 15 dimensions of space with absolute certainty, grounding like a rod inside of me. And they're all counter-rotating around. And it's so clear and so visible and so palpable and so strong that I don't know how else to describe it. Now, as it is a new mechanic, I'm still learning it. I haven't mastered it yet. I want to share it with you today, but I wanted to talk about this and bring this to your attention today because it's something I would love for you to be able to practice as well. Any questions, any comments? Any question about how to create this? How to do this?
Well, I do, but I thought you would probably be demonstrating, so I didn't want to delay the class. But the absolute certainty symbol, I think you're saying the torsion field core passes through this symbol.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
From the core of the earth through that symbol through you.
Yeah.
And out to source.
And it's received by another symbol, another similar absolute certainty iron rush head yard above as well.
On receipt, not as it leaves their, let's say, crown chakra.
Yes.
Okay.
In source, it will be received by another one. In other words, at both ends, it's being anchored by the symbol, like bookends.
So does the symbol reside in the earth, we say from the center of the earth, or does it reside as it enters your core?
It resides in the center of the earth and it resides in source.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
It's not at the bottom of your feet, at the top of your head. It's in the center of the earth and it's in source.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. And as you do this, it's going to create a connection, a kind of grounding. And it's okay. The feeling that I have is that I have the certainty of God itself, completely in all dimension of time and space. Now I have to tell you, after I did this the first time, it opened up a whole bunch of stuff for me because I then opened up the 72 divine name of God. There was a divine name for to travel to parallel dimension. There was a divine name for courage. There's a divine name for abundance. There's a divine name for healing. Again, three Hebrew letters. And conceivably, you could do the same thing for all of these things. It's opened up a whole facet of new technologies that were not accessible up to that point last Tuesday when this information came to me.
Wow. Wow. It reminds me of the I Am Monad exercise where you're asking for the higher virtues.
Yes.
From each of the components.
For each of the fragment of yourself, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Soul, yeah, the soul extensions. Yes. to
Right.
teach you and remind you of the things that they know. Absolutely. I'm not going to encourage you to do this because I'm doing it and I'm telling you, I'm just scratching the surface of what this is. And I have a sense that's what the 144,000 will need to do this in the 3D of darkness and whole after this is created, having practiced this between now and the crossing, if it's 2030. So we have like 6 years to learn this. And and when the crossing occurs, we have to add to it when we're done. Give us safe passage into the new earth. So that we become the plow in absolute certainty in all dimension of time and space. And keep in mind that when we are in that kind of certainty, we create, particularly when we're working in sync with each other, the force that we create will be greater than the sum of the parts. It will become cosmic. It will become law. Look, I'm not smart enough to come up with this thing myself, okay? I'm just telling you, I'm being very honest. This really came to me out of nowhere. Well, out of the emptiness. Let's put it this way. It came out to me from the emptiness. It was the last thing in my mind.
Well, probably as you were trying to empty out all attachments and to become nothing,
Yes.
you were able to shut down the chatter and the noise to receive it.
Yes, yes, yes. In my best channeling, all of the information, everything I've ever brought to you, including the torsion field, came to me because of this. Because my superpower is listening. And if I can shut down the outside and be quiet enough, I listen well, I will get all kinds of things. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break and then we will do a meditation. I will guide you to meditation with the torsion field with the absolute certainty. 5 minutes.
While we're on a break, Pierre, can I share
Yes.
a dream that I had a couple of nights ago that I'm hoping is prophetic? I dreamt that I was ushering in masses of people to
Sorry, go ahead.
railroad cars. And as each railroad car was filled, it was like an elevator and rose. It elevated. It's like the people in the car were ascending. And then the next railroad car would pull in, and I'd usher everybody into that car. And when it was full, it also rose like an elevator.
Wow, beautiful. That's stunning, Janice.
I'm hoping it's prophetic because
Yeah, this is stunning. This is stunning. I've been having good dreams as well the past few days and I'm very, very blessed about that. I've been having some good dreams as well.
good.
This is stunning.
The dream that you had a while ago about an explosion in a public square
Yes.
has passed, has it?
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things that are going on that are simultaneously, but all I know is that okay, if I'm focusing on all of these things that are potentially dark that are maybe happening, it's going to take me into a dark vortex.
Right. So clearly it was just a possibility, one of the fans.
Yeah, it just showed up as multiple things.
Yeah. Okay.
And I need to focus now on that certainty that I have now, and I have to broadcast safe passage. I can only focus because the danger exists because so many parallel realities are occupying the same space. That danger still exists, it has not passed. So it's time for us to do the real work. The next series of classes that I'll be teaching starting on the 12th of March is about the prayers and the practice for us to be for us to do planetary world service.
Mhm.
What exactly do we need to do? One of the biggest things that I'm learning right now, and I've shared this with the class and many other places, is the falsity of the Christian sacrifice. The idea that you have to be like Jesus and you have to take a nail or die for other people. It's coming from a fallacy that the universe is filled with lack. It's exactly the opposite. There is no lack in the universe. Everything is is perpetual renewal. It's the exact opposite. I learned sacrifice from my mother, who always telling us how much she sacrificed for all of us and sacrifice. And that's all I heard. And that's what I've been doing for most of my life.
Mm.
It's the exact opposite. The universe is abundant. All we are is the lens that helps focus the abundance of the universe. And as it passes through us, it heals us, it repairs us, and it makes us even more abundant. To be rich and to be healthy and to be in alignment with God is our birthright. Period. That sacrifice thing is an old paradigm. It's a falsity.
Mhm.
And when we serve, and this is one of the things I want to teach this class, when we serve and we're giving to to other people on the planet, we have to give from infinity times infinity, not from a belief that I need to lose something in order for me to give to them.
Mhm. Anyway, I love the concept of expansion out of the light, of the beauty of the good,
Yeah.
but then the dark. So focusing there, I think, is healthier.
Yes. I'm going to give you guys a minute to look at the symbol for Ayin, Resh, and Yod. if you look at your screen, we're going from right to left for this, the divine name for absolute certainty. Ayin, we're going to use this in the meditation. Ayin, Resh, and Yod. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. And the guardian alliance of light approach you. offering to give you their shields of light and protection and a band of neutrality. If you are ready to accept this gift at this time, answer affirmatively and let the energy of the first guardian begin in the core of the earth, passing through the symbol of Ayin, Resh, and Yod of absolute certainty, counter-rotating, moving upwards through the bottom of your feet, passing through your body, exiting outside of your head, and going into source and landing into the symbol for absolute certainty of Ayin, Resh, and Yod. And creating all around you a torsion field of absolute certainty. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the second guardian cascading down from source through the symbol of Ayin, Resh, Yod of absolute certainty, rotating clockwise, cascading down to the opening in the center of the torsion field donut, dropping through your core and into the core of the earth and resting in the core of the earth into Ayin, Resh, and Yod. And creating all around you a torsion field of absolute certainty. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the third guardian coming in through Ayin, Resh, and Yod, counter-rotating and moving through the center of the donut and passing through your entire core, exiting outside of your head and going into source and landing into the absolute certainty of Ayin, Resh, and Yod. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the fourth guardian cascading down from source and passing through Ayin, Resh, and Yod, rotating clockwise, moving through you exiting at the bottom of your feet and going into source and creating and landing into Ayin, Resh, and Yod, into the core of the earth. Creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts down the energy of the fifth guardian, counter-rotating and moving through the absolute certainty of Ayin, Resh, Yod, passing through the center of the donut and your core, vibrating all the way outside of your head and going back into source and landing in source, in Ayin, Resh, and Yod. And creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the sixth guardian, cascading down from source through the symbol of the absolute certainty of Ayin, Resh, and Yod, rotating clockwise, passing through you and to the center of the donut, exiting at the bottom of your feet, moving into the core of the earth, and creating, landing into Ayin, Resh, and Yod. And creating around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the seventh guardian, counter-rotating and moving through the absolute certainty of Ayin, Resh, and Yod in the core of the earth, passing through you and through the center of the donut, counter-rotating, moving through you, exiting outside of your head and into source, and being received in source by the absolute certainty of Ayin, Resh, and Yod, and creating all around you a torsion field of light. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the eighth guardian, cascading down from source from the symbol of Ayin, Resh, and Yod, moving through the center of the donut, passing through your core, dropping into the bottom of your feet, into the core of the earth, and landing into Ayin, Resh, and Yod. Creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the night guardian coming into source through the absolute certainty of Ayin, Resh, and Yod, passing through the moving clock counterclockwise, moving through the opening in the center of the donut, exiting outside of your head and going into source and landing into Ayin, Resh, and Yod. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts on the energy of the 10 guardian, moving clockwise, descending from source through Ayin, Resh, and Yod, passing through the center of the donut, moving through your core, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and going into source and into the core of the earth, and landing into Ayin, Resh, and Yod. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends, and it attracts now the energy of the 11 guardian, counter-rotating, coming from source through the symbol of Ayin, Resh, and Yod, moving counterclockwise, passing through the center of the donut, moving through your core, exiting outside of your head, and landing into source, and resting in Ayin, Resh, and Yod. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the 12 guardian, coming in from source through the symbol of Ayin, Resh, and Yod, dropping through the core and opening in the donut, passing through you, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and going in the center of the earth and resting into the symbol for Ayin, Resh, and Yod. Observe the 12 counter-rotating axes that are spinning in your core. In all dimensions of time and space, I exist in absolute certainty. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
It's amazing, amazing, Pierre.
Isn't it incredible?
It's powerful.
It's very hard to describe. It's very hard to describe in the words.
Yeah.
It's like you're high, but it's not chemical. It's very weird, but so strong.
Mm-hmm. Different feeling. Yes.
I'm sorry, say it again.
It's a very different.
Yes.
Version.
Yes. Anyway, I want to thank you all for listening or for being with me again, once again tonight. If you're listening to us on Patreon, thank you for your support. To all of you who are on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Blessings, everyone. Thank you, family. I love you so much. Good night.
Au revoir. Au revoir, mes amours.
Love you all.
Bye.
Love you. Bye bye.